Hey, 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 happy day, happy day. All right, today's topic, as we're talking about manifesting and creating the future. If you're familiar with anything about the law of attraction, you've probably heard, we need to raise our frequencies. We need to elevate our vibration, and it's all about energy. Woohoo! What the heck is a vibration? How do you raise your frequencies? All right, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. And we're going to put this in really simple terms, okay? So, you know what an emotion is, right? You know what it's like to feel excitement. You know what it's like to feel love. You know what it's like to feel disappointment, anxiety, stress. All right, so you already know what frequencies are. In the real world of everyday, regular old speech, we use the word emotions when we talk about how we feel. We feel excited, we feel sad, we feel depressed, we feel whatever, right? Well, in the world of physics, in the world of manifestation and creation, and in the world of science, we don't talk about feelings, we talk about frequencies and energies and vibrations. The truth is, they're the same thing. So, when we talk about raising our frequencies, raising our vibrations, what exactly does that mean? Well, I found this handy dandy little chart to help us kind of understand how science is able to measure our feelings, aka our vibrations and our energies. So, in a nutshell, if you can look at this chart, you'll see that the emotions that are on the top have bigger numbers, right? So we've got peace, enlightenment, joy. Those are all, 500, 600 to 1,000. You don't really have to know what, hertz frequencies actually really mean. All you can really do is just focus that they are bigger numbers than the emotions at the bottom of this chart. Apathy, guilt, fear. Ooh, those are 30. 20s, 30s, 100. Okay. We'll come back to that chart in a minute. But I think that's a quick explanation to help you understand what we're talking about when we say we need to raise our vibration. Here's why it's important. Because in the world of science, which you are now in that world because you're wanting to become the creator and you're wanting to manifest your life, which means you have to understand a little bit about physics, a little bit about science. Like attracts like. This is why magnets work, right? They say we can attract a bee with honey because they're a match. It's easier to attract them with honey than it is with vinegar because vinegar, bees, they don't match. But honeys and bees, that's an energetic match. Okay. What the heck does this have to do with manifesting and creating your own life? Well, as we talked about before, the law of attraction, there's a word, attraction. Okay. It isn't about you. Well, kind of is. Kind of is. You don't just sit there and it just goes and it attracts to you. Except it kind of does at the same time. We have been attracting and creating our entire life. We've been manifesting our entire life accidentally. In this scientific concept that like attracts like, we're talking about energies and we're talking about frequencies. In this idea of energies and frequencies, what we mean is a level 20 is going to attract a level 20. There'll be a match. Okay. A level 500 is going to attract a level 500. Okay. So even just on this numerical basis, that's what they mean when they say we want to raise our vibration. What they're saying is, in emotion terms, we want to take some of these lower vibrating emotions. Let me put them back up here again. These lower vibrating emotions, and they need to be elevated so that we can attract other equals to that. Okay. So, for example, maybe when we have a thought like, for example, everything always goes bad for me. Well, that thought is going to create a picture in our head. And that thought and that picture is then going to create an energy, an emotion that runs through us. So if a person were to think everything always goes wrong for me, maybe their brain starts creating pictures of disaster, spilled milk and, all these disastrous pictures, whatever. Everybody's brain is a little bit different. And what is the frequency? What is the emotion that thought and that picture might create in somebody? Fear? Ooh, that's 100. How about anger? Ooh, that's 150. Okay. So when we're talking about raising our vibrations, it isn't just enough to change the feeling necessarily, because remember, we just described 3 steps that created that feeling. So how did we get this feeling of anger or desperation or whatever it is? It was the thought that created the pictures. It was the thought that everything always goes bad. Disaster images, boom, there's the energy. Most of our thoughts we think are true. If a person thinks everything always goes bad, it usually does. And so when I try to convince them that that's just their own thoughts, they're like, of course not, because it's true. Why? Why is that true? Well, for one, hold on, let me put my face back up on the screen. There we go. Well, for one, our brain is attracting constantly. We are creating, we are manifesting constantly, usually accidentally, usually backwards. And most of the time, we are attracting and creating what we don't want with thoughts like, I don't deserve it, it's too hard, everything always goes wrong. All of those thoughts create pictures, which creates this energetic emotion frequency inside of us, and like attracts like. Okay? Those thoughts are dangerous because those are the reasons why your life has most likely been how it has been up until this point. So when we talk about raising vibrations, we're not just talking about raising the energy, but we're also talking about challenging those thoughts and challenging those beliefs, tweaking those pictures so that we can congruently raise that vibration and raise that energy. The reason why people tell me, or the reason why the law of attraction doesn't work, is because they try to think happy thoughts. Okay, I'm beautiful, I'm rich, I'm skinny, and the brain has this crossfire. It's like, no, you're not. That's a no. And it creates. So does the affirmation? This is why affirmations don't work too. Is the affirmation itself enough to change the energy? No. In fact, sometimes the affirmation can backfire because we're like, that's bullshit. I am absolutely not beautiful and skinny, right? You have this little voice in the back of your head that goes, that's a lie. That's not true. So typical techniques of law of attraction where you just, you create these vision boards and you know exactly what you want is not enough, because we haven't taken that original thought that's attached to those original pictures that generates that original frequency. We're just kind of like overlaying it on top, which actually ends up kind of sending like mixed signals to the universe. Here's an example of the mixed signal. As you're learning about quantum physics and the power of the law of attraction and the power of manifesting, you might get like all jazzed, right? And you're like, yeah. Oh yeah, I got this. I'm doing this. And you feel that energetic difference? right? You gave yourself that energetic difference by pumping yourself up, right? Great. That's going to be a great magnet for 5 seconds until that old thought comes back in and goes, this is hard. I'm too old to learn how to do this. It's too hard for me. Now we've got an energetic mismatch. We're sending mixed signals to the universe. The universe of quantum physics, source, God, however you choose to label it, needs very precise instructions. It doesn't respond to mixed signals. And that's a good thing. You know, if we instantly materialized any thought that popped into our head, that could be a bad thing. Sometimes we'll think things like, man, I hope that person gets hit by a car. Whoa, shit, that would be dangerous. We don't want to manifest like that, right? That's why what the universe is looking for is it's looking for consistency. So as we're starting to create this new us, as we're starting to raise these vibrations, we need to go through the steps and go through the process to start challenging the old beliefs that we have in our mind because they need to be deleted. Otherwise, we're sending mismatched signals to the universe. We're sending this signal that says, yes, 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 I got this. And then we're like, this is hard. And then we've got this frequency, this emotion that's down here on the chart. And then we've got this emotion that's up here. And the universe is like, well, which signal is louder? Which signal is stronger? So if you imagine these energies, these emotions, these frequencies, pretend like it's a radio station, okay? What would happen if you had 2 radio stations playing different types of music? Maybe you've got some salsa, merengue, some Spanish music going on one channel. Maybe you've got classical music going on to the other channel. Which channel wins your attention, your audio attention? It's going to be the one with the loudest volume. So if you have this one down to like a 1 on the volume and you've got this one cranked up to 100, the one that's cranked up higher is the energy audio, in this case, that's going to win. Consistency as we're raising our vibrations from these lower levels. Let's do my chart again. From these lower levels of sadness, anger, desperation, fear. If we're in those zones 90% of the time, and only 10% of the time we're up here on these love, peace, these higher vibrating ones, if those are only 10% of the time, which volume is going to win? Sorry, I have people washing windows, so there's a little bit of background noise right now. They're putting up scaffolding to wash windows. Okay. And I don't want to have to record this because something fell. Sorry about that. This is real life. This is how you know it's real life, right? Okay. So we will often be sending these conflicting messages. Our energy level is most of the time, which means that's what the universe is going to respond to. As we're manifesting and as we're creating, remember, there is not a person up there answering our desires. It's an algorithm. It's quite simply listening for instructions, and it's listening for our highest frequency, what we're most consistent with. We will be doing more tools, but the one thing that I want you to take away from this too is that the more consistent you are in reaching these higher emotional states, and the longer you can stay in those emotional states, that is actually creating different neuroconnections in your brain. Now, we are creatures of habit. So however old you are right now, if you have, 20, 30, 40, 50 years of low self-esteem, understand that neurologically, you got a pathway beaten down there. You've got this whole entire path that's groomed in your brain. That's the easy path. And we like the path of least resistance, even if it's the suckiest path. So rewiring your brain is going to take some work. This is why people say law of attraction doesn't work. Well, no, the law of attraction works. We didn't work. This isn't, I guess we live in a world of instant gratification. I mean, I remember a really long time ago, if I wanted to buy something, I had to go to the store. Now I could just hit a button on Amazon, or, I just fill my grocery cart and it shows up. We are in a world of instant gratification, and the universe doesn't work that way. Maybe it's looking for proof. Maybe it's wanting multiple inputs to know for sure that we're not asking for something that we can't handle, that we're not asking for something we don't really mean. So consistency is going to be really important. How do we do that consistently? I will do an entire video on that. But for the beginning, maybe your beginning homework can be start to recognize over the next couple of days, where is your emotional frequency mostly? Which of these frequencies? Are you a 10? Are you 20? Are you 50? Are you 100? Are you a 500? And what percentage of the day are you noticing that you are in those frequencies? It's usually easier to change if we can be really honest about where we are to start with. So maybe grab a journal on this journey so that you can start taking notes of where you are now, because we'll be able to see progress as we're going through this. You'll be able to say, oh, you know what? Hey, in March, I was 90% of the time depressed, and now I'm only 50% of the time depressed, because that progress will help us give us visual confirmation, if not the emotional confirmation, that we're on the right track. Okay, that's your homework then. Start doing a self-analysis of which energy frequencies are you falling in the most often. And even if you don't keep a copy of that chart, even just start noticing, am I upset? Am I angry? Am I depressed? Am I irritated? Am I happy? Am I smiling? Am I laughing? And you know what? You can always do a quick Google search and come up with what frequencies those are later. So homework number 1, start doing a self-analysis of where are you energetically now. Then, knowing in the back of your mind that this is going to require some consistency so that you can change those. And that's what we're going to be talking about in our next video. So please like and subscribe. Please feel free to share. And I'm really, really, really hoping that you can start leaving comments, because I will take those comments and I will use those as a guide for future videos of what questions need to be answered and stuff like that. So good luck with your homework. My email is, right there on the screen. Please email me any questions if you feel like it's something private that you don't want in the comment section, and I will talk to you soon.